Good afternoon, everyone. I'd just like to say I'm very happy to be here on behalf of the Confederated Tribes of Umatilla Indian Reservation, and just like to introduce to all of you our tribal chiefs here, Mr. Donald Sampson, Pio Pio Mox Mox, also Mr. Bill Burke, Diatmas Talalakafit. And welcome all of our tribal people here who come here from all over the country, from as far north as Canada, as far south as Arizona, New Mexico, from the Great Plains to even as far east as Minnesota and all the way to California. We all come here to the Pendleton Round Up every year to participate in the festivities here. We've been doing this since 1910. This is our homeland here, and our language we call it Nikiawe. And we're happy to be part of the Pendleton Round Up and continuing this great Western tradition. We've been living here in this area since time immemorial, how we say in our language. But we've been able to date ourselves back here at least 13,000 years. And from that time until now, we've been following our traditional lifeways, where we gather roots and berries, hunt the big game like elk and deer. And we follow the teachings of the Creator, or God. The way that He laid down the rules for us was that if you lived a really good life, that you would leave this world and there would be no trace of you left behind. That's why Lewis and Clark found this place to be almost untouched, brand new land, all the way from the Rocky Mountains all the way to the Pacific coast.
Did you expect this?
We've been following that way, giving thanks to the Creator, worshiping Him as our God, and following our traditional lifeways ever since then. When the Oregon Trail opened, it came right through this area. We are right on the Oregon Trail. Between the years of 1840 and 1843, there were 250,000 settlers who passed through this area, going to the end of the Oregon Trail at Oregon City. And at first, relations with the pioneers were good. We were interested in many of the things that they did and many of the things that they had, the way that they believed. So we welcomed them into our country. But as we began to have competition for things like homesteading rights and grazing rights, we started to have conflict. And eventually, it turned into the Cayuse War. We got into several military engagements with the United States military, and ultimately managed to negotiate a peace with the United States government, what we call the Treaty of 1855. With the Treaty of 1855, we secured for ourselves three things that we already have. We didn't receive anything from the treaty, but held close to us three things. One of them is a tract of land, which we now know as the Umatilla Indian Reservation. The second thing was the ability to hunt and fish and follow our traditional lifeways. That's how we're able to do things off the reservation, like harvest salmon, hunt the big game like elk and deer, and gather our traditional foods. And the third thing, and maybe the most important, was the right to govern ourselves, what we know as tribal sovereignty. So we have a government-to-government relationship with the state of Oregon, and that's how we're able to negotiate all the different things that we have here as part of our traditional ways. So we were moved to the reservation and we started our traditional lifeways. So coming around to the north grandstand here is our tribal flag, and right behind that is the eagle feather staff, the very first American flag. You know, we have the most per capita of any other ethnic group that joins the United States military. So if you would please give a big round of applause for all of our Native American veterans and all of our American veterans who are fighting across the pond right now, taking care of our United States land. We want to thank all of our horse riders here who are carrying on our traditional culture of bringing horses here to the Roundup and showcasing who we are as Indian people. You know, we've been living side by side with the folks here in the city of Pendleton and around the state of Oregon, and we've developed a new way of living. You know, we're trying to carry on our traditional ways, but also at the same time, we're trying to adapt to the modern lifestyle. So we started the Wild Horse Resort Casino. We now have a truck stop and a small grocery store. We own a section of the
Now that's a grandpa. That right there is the best grandpa.
We're trying
Awesome.
to diversify the way that we generate money. All of these things go into our tribal government to help raise the quality of living for our tribal members. Now, the reservation was a very difficult place to live in the early
Yeah.
1900s.
He's having a bad day.
There wasn't any money. We weren't. According to our treaty, we were allowed to get out and practice these rights of harvesting our foods, and at that time we couldn't. So a lot of people were having a really hard time, but we're raising the quality of life here amongst our tribal people. We have lots of people who go to college, and we're working really hard to restore salmon runs from the Umatilla River. You know, at one time the salmon was extinct from the Umatilla River and almost extinct from the Columbia River. But we worked really hard with the Bonneville Power Administration, the local farmer and irrigators union to help raise the salmon so they can come back to the Umatilla River. And that's really important in our culture. You know, we made a promise a long time ago to these traditional foods that we would help take care of them if they would help take care of us. And so it's important to us when you hear things about Native Americans trying to protect the right to harvest salmon. That's a big part of what we do is looking out for these traditional foods and our traditional lives. We also want to recognize our companion princesses, Layla So Happy and Lauren Grove. These two ladies have been traveling around all over the country. They've been to a whole bunch of rodeos, being our representatives as Native American participation at the Pendleton Round Up and also the Pendleton Round Up. They worked really hard all year long. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate you putting in your hard work to let everybody know how great the Pendleton Round Up is. For those of you who don't know, the Happy Canyon is a night show that we put on here at the Pendleton Round Up. It's the longest running outdoor pageant.
Oh, I know.
And it's the official state show of the state of Oregon. So after the rodeo here, once it starts to get about dark, we'll all be participating at the Happy Canyon Night Show, where we try to reenact how the opening of the Oregon Trail actually worked. And it's an absolute marvel. There's nothing like it in the world. If you haven't got your tickets for that yet, please do so.
Oh, really?
Also, as soon as the rodeo is finished, we're going to go right out here into Roy Rayleigh Park at the east end of the stadium. We have Native American vendors who come here from all over the country, beadwork, basketry, jewelry, Justin McKee's favorite, some fry bread with some huckleberry jam. He gets down on that every time he comes to the Pendleton Roundup. So make your way out there. We'll also be having competition dancing, just like the dancing you're seeing here out in the park right after the rodeo. So please make your way out there. Tomorrow morning, we'll all be participating in the Westward Ho Parade. There are no motorized vehicles. There's a large contingency of Native American people who participate in the Westward Ho Parade. And during that time, we'll also be having the Native American Beauty Contest, which is where we have young women from our culture who ride horseback, talk about their outfits, explain about their culture, and we'll be announcing those winners later on this week. That'll all take place tomorrow morning at the Westward Ho